All right, good evening, everybody. We are ready for this evening's Planning Commission meeting, Tuesday, March 28th, 2018, City of Gardner, Kansas. I'd like to call the meeting to order. If everyone will please rise and state the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now move into the roll call section, starting on my right.
Freeman here.
Scott Bowden here.
Austin here.
Mater here.
Gardner here.
Brady here.
Roberts here.
Quorum is present. Moving on to the consent agenda. All matters listed within the consent agenda have been distributed to each member of the Planning Commission for study. These items are considered to be routine and will be enacted upon by one motion with no separate discussion. If separate discussion is desired on an item from either the Planning Commission or from the floor, that item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda. Is there any item any member of the commission would like to have removed from the consent agenda? Any item any member of the public would like to have removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Freeman with a second by Brady that we approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries with all in favor. Before I move into the regular agenda, I'd just like to welcome our new commissioners, Commissioner Bowden and Commissioner Gardner. Appreciate you guys. Welcome. Thank you. All right, regular agenda. Item number 1. Z-18-02 and PDP-18-02. Hold a public hearing and consider a rezoning from R5 and C1 to CP1 for approximately 1.65 acres, an associated preliminary development plan located at 122, 130, and 136 East Warren Street. Connie Wright, applicant and Roman Catholic Archbishop, property owner of record. Do we have a presentation this evening from staff?
Good evening, Commissioners. Michelle Leininger, Principal Planner. Just to give you some reference of where we're looking at tonight for the Warren Place rezoning and preliminary development plan. On the screen in front of you, it's a little hard to see. The properties outlined in blue are the subject properties tonight. They are bordered, it's the south half of the block. It's bordered on the west by South Center Street, on the south by East Warren Street, and on the east by South Elm Street. As you can see, the different colors on the screen, the yellowish, orangish color is R5, which is an apartment district. The red is C1, except for the top corner is CP1. And then on the left-hand side, there is a small area of single-family R1 and high-density industrial M2. And then you can see from the aerials on this that we have some existing structures. The far structure on the left is the chapel building. The middle structure is the house or previous rectory. And then the building to the right is the event hall. And then a forward view, here's a picture of the chapel. Obviously wasn't taken in the last couple of days, but a good picture of what is currently there. It's obviously a historic chapel constructed in the late 1890s. Lots of green space. Here's the rectory, or the house that's in the middle of the block, that was constructed in the mid-1960s. It is one single-family house. The Catholic Church did use the basement for some event space in the past. And then this is the event hall on the east. This is a large open event space. There's a kitchen. There is actually a basement in the facility. And then farther east, there's some open green space. Staff findings for the rezoning. The rezoning and the project is consistent with the character of the neighborhood. This this half block has been utilized and developed by the Catholic Church, obviously, since the 1890s. This is something that is definitely part of the fabric of the neighborhood, something that has developed over time along with the residential that's around it. It's definitely consistent with the character of the neighborhood. The zoning in the project is compatible with the surrounding zoning districts. The church use, religious facility use, and the chapel event center use, those are both classified as a small civic use, whether it's religious affiliation or not. So really there it's a one-for-one use. The rectory would have been considered an accessory kind of dwelling for the religious facilities. So that is really the bigger change in use. As we'll talk about later, the house is really intended to be used as almost like a bridal suite, something where those that are renting the facility can stay on site so that they're there in the morning and use the rest of the property during the day. It's not intended to be, say, a hotel type of thing. Again, it is just one single-family house. The change in zoning is not detrimental to the nearby properties, as it is similar to the existing use. It's really just continuing to allow for the structures to remain in place and to be reutilized. It's staff's opinion that leaving it as the higher density residential and allowing for that potential for it to be redeveloped as, higher density apartments, that could be more detrimental to the neighborhood than leaving the existing structures there, because this is similar in intensity and as the previous uses, and structures, there would be minimal changes. Additionally, it would support the downtown by offering some event space. We have noted that Bruce Funeral Home is allowing for shared use of their parking lot. With talking with the owner of Bruce Funeral Home, she has stated that this type of facility is something that would also benefit her business, as people utilizing the funeral home facility would then have a place nearby for small gatherings after utilizing their facility. So again, this is a support for some downtown event space, which we have very little of at this point. Some continued findings consistent with the downtown mixed-use commercial area that's in the current comprehensive plan. This property is identified for secondary commercial growth, which includes government, civic uses, and a mix of residential uses. This snippet picture you see before you is out of the Gardner Main Street Corridor Plan, which identifies this area for core mixed use. Very similar to the secondary commercial areas. This is not an adopted plan as of yet, but stay tuned to later. Staff also finds that there would be no negative impact on public services and infrastructure, as there will be no changes in that type of support. Just an overview of the preliminary development plan, some highlights. The green boxes are the existing buildings. Those will remain in place. The applicant is proposing 2 small additions to the event space. The teal boxes are the parking areas. Some of them are newly proposed parking areas. The one to the north of the chapel, that's kind of a mix of new and old. There is currently parking back there. It would just be reconfigured. It would actually be a little less deep. to allow for the ADA ramp to be included on the north of that building. So all the parking off the alley would be more or less new. There would be some additional parking to the east of the house for that use. And then the parking that is associated with the event space would just be refurbished, as that is existing parking. This area in red, that is currently paved and used for parking. This will actually be removed. That was recommended by our Public Works Department, as Center Street is a very busy street. It's not recommended that we have head-in parking off of that street or any parking at all, because Center and Gardner Road is an arterial in the city. So that will be removed and replanted with grass. A new space the applicant is proposing is an outdoor ceremony space, kind of garden ceremony space between the chapel and the house. They are proposing to increase some landscaping, which we don't get into details with the preliminary development plan, but they have included some of that here. Additionally, there's a proposed kind of canopy covered walkway off the back of the addition to the event space. Just some other highlights: the circles that you see on site are existing trees. The applicant is wishing to maintain as many of those as possible, and to maintain as much of the green space that is along the streets as possible. That helps with keeping what the neighbors see and the character of the neighborhood. As part of this development plan, the applicant is requesting some deviations. Part of the background of a development plan, or the idea behind the development plan, is that they're innovative and kind of new ways of developing property that wasn't really thought out in a standard district. Well, this situation is an existing site that we are looking to retrofit in kind of a new use. So we felt that this was really an appropriate way to use that plan development and to potentially take advantage of some of the potential deviations that the Planning Commission could offer to allow for this site to be reutilized, so it doesn't fall in disrepair, and so that the structures can be maintained in the neighborhood. So I will go through these deviation requests just to highlight them for you. The first one is for the small assembly use. It talks about the standard shall be providing sufficient on-street parking so that on-site parking so that no on-street parking is utilized. That's required 80 spaces, down from, let me back up. 133 spaces would be required based on the uses. The code also allows for the reduction of parking in the C1 district, so that gets you down to your 80 spaces, which is required. They are proposing 49 stalls, which is an increase from the existing parking on site. The applicant's response to this, and here's just a summary of number-wise where it's broken out. The applicant's response to the deviation, a combination of on-site and on-street parking will be utilized in an effort to minimize the impacts on-site, preserve the neighborhood open green space, and protect the mature trees on-site. Additionally, the code allows for the counting of on-street parking in a 1/3 or 1 for every 3 stalls within 600 feet of a frontage. Here's kind of a parking summary of the area. Some of the parking up to the north potentially wouldn't count because it's 600 feet from the frontage, which is Elm, Warren, and Center Street. This gets them sufficient number of parking stalls. And additionally, what I had spoke to before about a parking agreement with Bruce Funeral Home, their parking lot, which is to the north and west across South Center Street, has 54 parking stalls. So that is available when they are not using it for the site. So with all of these reasons, staff does support the requested deviation for not having all the on-site parking. Another deviation is the width of the lots. This one is a little different than what we would normally see. The small civic use has a lot with maximum of 300 feet. The proposed site, when combined, all of the lots would total 600 feet. If you take the two uses, well, it's three uses, the two civic uses and then what we're considering a lodging use for the house, and break those apart, you get pretty close to that, or less than that 300 feet per use. Again, the applicant is looking to maintain the site in its current state. The code would require that combination of all of the lots to utilize the site. So staff does support that deviation. Third deviation, small civic design and performance standard, no parking shall be located within 25 feet of front lot line or 10 feet of a side or rear lot line. Proposed is 8 feet from the front lot line and 1 feet from the rear property line. Here's another visual. The blue lines are the edge of the parking to the alley behind. And then the red lot line is going to be where the front parking is close to the road. Again, this is one of those situations where they're trying to get parking on site to meet that parking demand. They're trying to utilize the parking that's already on site, that is existing, and to try to have minimal impact on the neighborhood as far as maintaining the green space and the buildings and the existing trees. So staff does support this deviation. The next one talks about internal sidewalk widths. When we go through this one, there's 4 areas that don't quite meet. The first one is the area north of the chapel. This is along that parking area, which would be required to be 8 feet wide. They are proposing 5 feet. The reason between not being able to meet that is that the requirement to add that ADA ramp, which will be on the north side of the building. So being able to fit that within the space. The next area is from the parking lot east of the house to the front door. That would be required to be 10 feet wide. In this area, if you look really close, that one of those circles is about in the middle of that sidewalk. So they're really trying to maintain those existing trees. And so there wouldn't be quite enough room there to get that 10 feet wide. So they're asking for that deviation. There is an area between the parking lot and the existing parking lot and the parking behind the house. This is a sidewalk that's kind of added into a smaller area, and if they would be required to expand that, they would either lose a parking stall or they would be expanding the parking lot. So again, going with utilizing the existing parking lot and what is there. Staff supports that deviation. There is, and this will probably be clarified through the final development plan when we can get something that's a little closer. There should be a sidewalk between the parking north of the event center to the new back door area. We just want to make sure that that is included to allow for caterers and such traveling from that parking stall to the back door, to not have to go out into the alley if they don't have to. Staff is asking for that sidewalk to be included and supporting the other 3 deviations. The next one is for, again, parking setbacks, and then parking island requirements. The standard is to require 5% internal islands and then rear setback of 6 feet. Again, they can't meet that setback with the existing parking, and if they were required to do internal landscaping islands, they would lose parking stalls, which kind of defeats the purpose of having that, trying to get as much parking on site as they can without disturbing property if they can't. Again, staff does support this deviation. And these 2 deviations are, again, for setbacks, for parking. There's a 6-foot setback in the rear for parking blocks under 20, which is all of those small parking lots off the alley. And then the second one on this slide is the setback from the front yard for the existing parking lot. And just something that I want to highlight, it's kind of buried in the development plan. Public Works has asked that the applicant provide a one-way signs in the alley, so that the alley will now be one way from west to east. And then they have also asked that the applicants improve the alley aprons onto both streets because of that increased alley traffic. Just forgot to mention that when I was talking about the development plan. Staff does recommend approval of the rezoning and associated preliminary development plan, subject to the following conditions: that the parcels are combined through the preliminary and final plat process prior to the issuance of a building permit, and 2, the addition of a minimum 5-foot sidewalk from the parking spaces in the rear of the event hall to the rear door. Here's a recommended motion, and the applicant and the architect are here if you do have any questions.
Great, thank you, Michelle. Now's a good time to open the public hearing, so all parties wishing to speak on this item, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the public record. Individuals are allotted approximately 3 minutes, those representing a group approximately 5, and now's a great time for the applicant and architect to come forward and present anything you might have for the commission.
Good evening. My name is Connie Wright. I am the applicant for the rezoning of Warren Street. I'd like to introduce Elizabeth Schultz, who is one of the lead architects with Draw Architect, a firm in Kansas City, Missouri. Elizabeth will be working with us to put our vision into motion. Also, Jeremy Stein, a licensed contractor. Jeremy will be overseeing and coordinating the project. And Rayleigh Wright, marketing and event coordinator. And both Jeremy and Elizabeth can answer any of your technical or planning questions. Our vision for this project began in 1905, more than 113 years ago, the Gardner Gazette reported the building of the new Sacred Heart Church, describing that the interior will be fixed up in excellent shape. So fast forward 113 years and we have our work cut out for us. I want to address the church as the anchor piece of this property because this is where it all began. This is the history of Gardner and where we need to proceed with the highest degree of care and respect. Our goal with this church is to restore versus remodel, restore it to its original glory, and make it once again a beautiful landmark for Gardner and the Catholic community. I believe this project can have a positive impact for the community by fostering new businesses such as catering and floral design, as well as continuing flow of visitors to the area. Our project will enrich the historic features of the chapel while providing modern spaces for wedding parties, provide an opportunity for theatrical performances in the church, creating flexible spaces that are fresh, modern, and unique, and will accommodate ceremonies, celebrations, and community events of all types while remaining sensitive to community needs. I ask that you approve our request for the rezoning of Warren Place project. Allow us to make a positive impact on the downtown corridor's vision and put Gardner on the map. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, public hearing. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record. We'd love to hear from you.
Carol Lehmann, 509 North Mulberry, Gardner, Kansas. It's kind of different from this side. Very nice. Thank you so much, Chairwoman and Commissioners, for allowing me to speak. I'm here tonight because I believe in what Connie Wright is going to do. And given this property's proximity to downtown Gardner, this rezoning seems very appropriate and logical. As for the proposed use, I'm excited about the possibilities that are being discussed. I know Connie Wright, and I have seen what she can do. She is creative and visionary. This event venue will be nothing short of first class. The uniqueness of this project will not duplicate anything that we already have in Gardner, and it will soon become a sought-after special event venue throughout Johnson County and beyond. Connie Wright has the desire, the resources, the know-how, and the staff to make Warren Place a positive addition to our community. So, Madam Chairwoman and Commissioners, I respectfully urge you to approve this rezoning request. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jeremy Stein. I live at 18605 County Line Road in Edgerton, Kansas. And I'll be the project manager for the Warren Place development. And I am excited for the opportunity before us and for the city. The church properties have not been used regularly in a number of years and are longing for activity again. The Warren Place project aims to restore this community landmark back to its former glory as a functional and integral part of the community again. I'm looking forward to seeing what Connie and Draw Architecture have in store for this property. I feel this project fits perfectly with the Gardner Main Street Corridor Plan by providing green space, parking, jobs, tax revenue. It supports development and restoration of downtown as well as historic buildings, and the neighborhood will be less disrupted as a result of it. Further, I feel this project will provide an amazing local destination type wedding venue for the young people of Gardner to get married at, no longer taking tax dollars away from the community. I spoke with many local residents and local business owners over the months, and they all seem to be excited about the idea of a business like this coming to town. In fact, several have mentioned that they would have loved to do this themselves. So, in conclusion, I'll be brief. I just ask that you please vote in favor of recommending approval for this rezoning request, and we are excited to bring this new vision to a community landmark, as well as the tax revenue and jobs that come along with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Schultz with Draw Architecture and Urban Design. I'm an architect and community planner in Kansas City, Missouri. It's been a pleasure getting to know Connie and Rayleigh and hear their vision for the Warm Place project. I think what's really valuable about them is that they're interested in maintaining the character that already exists in the neighborhood, which is a part of what our firm specializes in. It's that historic renovation and taking unique elements of a community and bringing them up to a new modern light. So this is a project that I think will definitely bring attention to the overall community very positively and bring some life and activity, as well as those community needs that will help foster residents' potential in having that gathering space that the community is missing. If you have any specific questions about the design or overall look or the landscape, I welcome those at this time.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
Are there any others wishing to speak this evening? Seeing no members of the public wishing to speak on this topic, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved?
Second.
We have a motion to close the public hearing made by Freeman with a second by Austin. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries, all in favor. The public hearing is now closed. Commissioners, we've heard a staff report. We've got the applicant along with her team present this evening, so lots of people to answer any questions, and we'll just start down here on my right. Commissioner Freeman, any questions, comments?
No questions for me tonight.
Okay. Commissioner Bowden?
I have one concern. Have you guys talked to the city at all about people crossing a busy Center Street from Bruce Funeral Home, or if they park along Warren?
Please, come forward, anyone who feels like they would like to address that question, and step up to the podium. Thank you.
That question has not come up as a concern at this time. The peak hours of operation are going to be on the weekends. We've talked with the city about potentially scheduling within traffic patterns to make sure that there isn't going to be a high population of pedestrians trying to cross the street. We would, of course, encourage operationally to have Rayleigh distribute kind of maps for parking locations for guests, so that way they're aware of where they should park on the street and kind of focus the general pattern, so that way there isn't a potential illegal crossing or dangerous one for the guests.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have any other questions.
Okay.
I think my only question is for staff, and it's, do we need to add the one-way signage and aprons as a condition, or is that just handled otherwise?
No, it's noted on the top of the second page of the final development plan.
Okay.
It was just something I meant to highlight when I was showing the visual, but neglected to. So I wanted to make sure that that was touched on before you asked the question. So.
Sounds good, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
No questions, but I just wanted to state for public record that I have had conversations about this particular property with Joyce O'Connor. Nothing beyond the extent of what was covered tonight, just for public record.
Thank you.
But no questions.
Okay.
Couple comments, questions. There's a lot of deviations on this, so that needs to be noted. Noise. When the Catholic Church has services on Saturday evening, on Sunday, pretty passive crowd that comes through there. Now we're looking about an entertainment venue, about music potentially, traffic coming up and down the streets. Has anybody talked to the neighbors about this possibility, and what provisions do you have for noise?
We've been out there several times to look at the property, and I've run into several of the neighbors over the past several months, and they all seemed interested in the project and eager for it to go forward. I haven't heard any objections about traffic along the south road there on Warren Street. We've talked to the owners on the northwest of the property. They're all for it. In fact, they want to work for us. I've talked to the owners of a couple of the rental houses along the south side there, and they seem to be all for it as well. I haven't heard any negative pushback from the public that I mentioned the project to.
With an outdoor wedding,
Yes, sir.
could be a live band potentially, those types of things. What are the noise ordinances regarding this?
I haven't personally thought of I don't think we're going to be outside having a large concert venue aside from a couple, maybe a 3-piece string band out there doing a nice little ceremony. Anything we do will be tasteful and quiet and not really disruptive to the surrounding neighborhoods.
Could staff comment, please, on noise ordinance and what's acceptable and what's not?
We're going to look up the ordinance here for you real quick, but the city itself does not necessarily have a noise ordinance item because we don't have the equipment to measure the decibels required in order to take to court that type of ticket. Usually when we have a loud disturbance call, be it car engine, somebody's working on a car, or be it somebody's playing the radio too loud in the backyard or whatever, the officers are dispatched, and usually we are able to take care of any loud noise situation by a request, voluntary request to the public. If that does not do the case, then the officer, of course, does have the ability to close a venue.
And Connie, I know you will be conscientious of that with anything that you would book at the facility. Is the agreement with Bruce Funeral Home, will this be a signed agreement? Is this a gentleman's agreement to use their parking?
If you look at the very last page of your packet, there is a letter signed by Shirley, and that was just an introductory agreement. There will be a more formal agreement that they will enter into.
You would add to that, Connie?
No.
Okay. The reason I ask that, all it takes is one bad thing to happen in that parking lot.
Exactly.
With some vandalism or trash, whatever it might be, and the funeral home says, deal's off. And then all of a sudden, we've got a major traffic and parking issue for major events that you would host.
I think that we'll be very respectful of Shirley's space. We're kind
Well, I know
of,
you will, but sometimes the people attending
Well,
the events are not.
yes, but we're ultimately responsible for the individuals that attend weddings and events. So we will be the people at the very end cleaning up and being sure that, Shirley's property is respected. And as far as outdoor weddings go, they're not going to be loud at all. Maybe like a 3-piece quartet. They're quick. Everything is then moved into the event center for reception, dinner, and then go.
And following up on the noise, the event hall will be upgraded with more acoustic protection than what's currently in there, so that'll be a full renovation. The event hall will most likely be gutted entirely on the inside, so down to structure, and then it will be increased acoustic performance so that noise isolation will be contained more within the building. There's, of course, that occurrence where someone opens all of the doors at once and then there's a louder sound than usual. So.
Well, please don't misread my question. I think this is a wonderful project. This is something Gardner needs. And as a father of 2 weddings here recently, I wish we would have had a venue like this.
I like everything about this project, especially the reuse of the historic Gardner landmark. I like the conscientious care of maintaining the trees, the landscaping, the charm of the neighborhood. I think it's a great opportunity for Gardner. I think it's a great project, and I would support all of the deviations that were mentioned.
Okay, thank you. Great, thank you. Larry, did you want to add anything on your findings regarding the, I think we vetted it, but I didn't want to move on if you were going to.
No, I think at the present time, we've given you all the information we currently have.
I felt comfortable. just something else to add?
With respect to noise, when we were discussing the Main Street corridor plan, we had discussed several options for this piece of property. And one of them was an outdoor theater, and one of them was an event space. So it would be much, much louder, I would imagine, than what we're proposing here. So we had sort of, as a city, kind of discussed that. So just wanted to add that.
Okay. Anybody else have other questions or comments? Very excited. I think this is a great opportunity. Look forward to.
Thank you.
Look forward to having something like this in town. Thank you guys very much for the presentation. There's no other questions, comments. I'd entertain a motion on this item.
I motion after review of application Z-18-02 and PDP-18-02, a rezoning and preliminary development plan for 122, 130, and 136 East Warren Street, parcel IDs CP 9000000, space 0040, CP 9000000, space 0052, CP 9000000, space 0046, CP 9000000, space 0056, and preliminary development plan dated March 5th and March 15th, 2018, and staff report dated March 27th, 2018. The Planning Commission recommends the governing body approve the application provided the following conditions are met. Number one, the parcels are combined through the preliminary and final plat processes prior to the issuance of a building permit. Number two, add a minimum 5-foot wide sidewalk from the parking spaces in the rear of the event hall to the rear door.
Second.
We have a motion made by Bowden with a second by Freeman. That after review of application Z-18-02 and PDP-18-02, a rezoning and preliminary development plan for 122, 130, 136 East Warren Street, parcel IDs CP 900000000, space 0040, CP 900000000, space 0052, CP 900000000, space 0046, CP 900000000, space 0056, and preliminary development plan dated March 5th and March 15th, 2018, and staff report dated March 27, 2018. The Planning Commission recommends the governing body approve the application, provided the following conditions are met. Item number one, the parcels are combined through the preliminary and final plat processes prior to the issuance of a building permit. And item number two, add a minimum 5-foot wide sidewalk from the parking spaces in the rear of the event hall to the rear door. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries with all in favor. Thank you guys this evening. Moving down the regular agenda, item number 2, Garden Walk of Gardner, Z-18-03. Hold a public hearing and consider a rezoning from CP2 to R3 for approximately 9.41 acres located at the northwest corner of University Drive and Moonlight Road. Sean Smith, Belmont Development Company, LLC applicant, and Blue Valley Investment Corporation, property owner of record. We have a presentation this evening.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Michelle Cricks, planner with the City of Gardner, and this evening I will be presenting case Z-18-03, a request to rezone 9.4 acres from CP2, which is Planned General Business District, to R3, to a Garden Apartment District, for University Park Edition Number 1, also known as the Garden Walk of Gardner. So just kind of to give a general highlight of the location of the property, it is located at the northwest corner of University Drive and Moonlight Road. So you're going to see here it's bounded with Moonlight on the east, University Drive on the south. This area, for 5 of you anyway, will look very familiar. As of last month, we talked to the property just adjacent west of this site for the cottages at University Park. So this area might look a little familiar, and be prepared for next month because we got another one coming in at this area. And over on the east side of Moonlight, just directly across the street, that is going to be New Century Air Center. At the upper left-hand corner of the screen, you're going to see kind of a general location highlighted with the red star of the property as relation to Gardner. So just to kind of give an idea of the surrounding zoning of the property, we have our current property that's highlighted with the blue, currently zoned CP2, proposed to be rezoned to R3, which is the Garden Apartment District. You'll see to the north that it's got a rural residential zoning. Those properties directly to the north of our site that we're discussing this evening is actually within the county. So the RUR is a county zoning designation. To the east is New Century Air Center, which is zoned PEC3, which is a planned light industrial park district. Again, that's a Johnson County zoning designation. To the south, CP2, which is our planned general business district. Then beyond that is CO, which is an office commercial district. Directly to the west of the site in question for this evening is the RP3 and RP4. That is the zoning that has been recently approved by the governing body. It was actually just approved last week for the University Park addition. So the RP4 again is up at the northwest corner of that development, and the RP3 zoning will be directly adjacent to our site in question this evening. Just so I could give kind of a quick utility layout, we've got the electric, we've got water directly adjacent to the site. Along University Drive, you can barely see it. In brown is going to be stormwater, and then over into Johnson County is sewer. So you're going to see that there's some utilities already available for the site with any future development. Just a kind of general look of our site. I don't know if you've driven by and have a chance to see it. Right now it's being utilized as farmland, so not a whole lot to look at. You're going to see as of this morning, very gray, very very bare area. We've got some trees on the north edge of our site, which is currently a kind of boundary. Beyond that is going to be that rural residential, those large lot, single family residential beyond that within the county. And there's a look then to the east. You can see then New Century Air Center and that part of the industrial park of New Century Air Center just to the east of our site. So the applicant did provide us, I just kind of wanted to throw this in there for some ideas of what the applicant is considering for this project. But they are doing kind of initial thought of doing they're doing three-story apartment buildings and one single-story community building for that site. So we're looking at a total of possibly 60 new dwelling units for the city of Gardner. This application is not specifically for the dwelling units. That will come later as a site plan, but it's just kind of give an idea of what future uses we could put on this site for the garden apartment look that they're thinking. So this also kind of wanted to show you kind of the idea that the proposed rezoning would provide some buffering between the existing large lot residential to the north. So I come back here, that rural residential, we're going to have, the garden apartments will then provide a buffer between the rural residential and the commercial to the south. But that also provides a bit of a buffer between the lower density residential currently proposed to the west and to New Century Air Center to the east. So within the comprehensive plan, this is a snippet of the comprehensive land use map. You're going to see here that this area and the lot in question for tonight for the rezoning is currently master planned for low density residential. Now, the R3 zoning being considered this evening is considered more of a medium density residential, and but the R3 does allow a variety of housing types. So if you looked in your code, there's a lot of different building types that can attract a lot of new residents to Gardner, for young professionals, young families, and empty nesters. And within the comprehensive plan, we have the residential area plan. The comp plan has a section for residential area plans. There's 3 types of residential plans within this section. There's a traditional, which is identified the residential adjacent to downtown Gardner. There's contemporary, and then there's the new growth residential. This area is considered for new growth residential, which is defined as undeveloped land that provides a clean slate for future residential development to contribute to and enforce the city's existing character and identity. The new residential growth ensures new developments meet the requirements of the Gardner Land Development Code and provide flexibility where necessary to accommodate a variety of housing types and intensities. Again, this R3 will actually support that section of the comprehensive plan and provide the, multiple building types for Gardner. Staff finds that the R3 zoning is more compatible with the properties directly adjacent to the north and west of the site. Staff finds that the R3 zoning is consistent with the goals of the comprehensive plan, and the R3 zoning will allow a mix of housing which can serve multiple age groups for the Gardner population. Staff is recommending that the Planning Commission recommend approval of case Z-18-03, a rezoning from CP2, which is the Planned General Business District, to R3, the Garden Apartment District, for parcel ID CP 945-00000-0T0D, located at the northwest corner of University Drive and Moonlight Road, to the governing body.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll now open the public hearing. Any member of the public wishing to comment on this item, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the public record, and be heard. If the applicant is with us this evening, this would be a great time to hear from them, so look forward to hearing comments.
Hi.
Hi.
Greg Rodewald, the acquisitions manager for the applicant Belmont Development. And I just want to thank you guys for taking the opportunity to, to visit with us a little this evening. And with that, I'll open it up for any questions that you might have for me.
Okay, I don't know if we might have any at this time, being this is the public hearing. So glad to have you with us, and should anything come up during discussion, good to know you're here and can answer questions.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Any other member of the public wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion to close the public hearing made by Bowden with a second by Austin. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Commissioners, questions, comments? We do have the applicant and, of course, staff with us. Heath, I'll start down on the right and just go around the table.
Oh, none from me. No questions from me.
The CP2 district that's existing, is that a part of the CP2 to the south, or is that its own development area?
That is all part of the University Park development that was approved back in 2003. It was part of a 157-acre development that included the CP2, the CO, RP5, RP3, RP2 zoning for that whole area. So that they had originally planned that strip to be commercial adjacent to residential, and that residential directly to the west of the site was originally planned to be duplexes.
Okay, so there's no remaining portion of the CP2 that would need to be replanned since it's a planned district, correct?
The portion south of University Drive would be subject to a revised preliminary development plan.
So would we not need to see that at the same time as this?
We are rezoning this from a planned district to a straight zoning district, so there's no preliminary development plan for that. You will be seeing a revised preliminary development plan for that CP2 site next month.
So we can approve a partial change in a planned district?
You can in this case because this is a separate tract, which is being considered just by itself for change. It is, yes, labeled the same as far as the zoning is considered, but it is a non-contiguous piece from across the road. I'm sorry, it is contiguous, it is a separate tract.
Okay,
That help?
I think so. That's all I have.
Okay, I'll let you chill on it just in case.
No questions.
No questions, Tim? Tori?
No, I'm good.
Are you still good, Brad?
Yeah.
You know, actually, I do have a question.
Yeah, go ahead. Brad's still chewing here, so, yeah.
Can I ask, what is your overall plan to actually develop something on here in the near future? Or?
Yes, the current plans preliminarily are allowing for a 60-unit, for lack of a better word, apartment community with various types of housing units. Right now, the breakout is based on the third-party market study that we had commissioned. The capture rates, which is what I look for in the market study to tell me if I'm in a decent market or not, came back extremely positive. Right now, the current architectural drawings are allowing for 60 units, both 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. I think the current bedroom mix is 12 one-bedrooms, 32 bedrooms, and 18 three-bedroom units right now.
Thank you.
I'm good.
Okay, all right.
I'm liking the, I know this is just a simple rezoning, but I think this part of town would benefit from this concept, so I think this is a good thing. If we don't have other comments, I'd entertain a motion on this item.
After review of case number Z-18-03, a rezoning from CP-2 Plan General District to R3 Garden Apartment District, parcel ID CP945-00000-0T0D, located at the northwest corner of University Drive and Moonlight Road, and a staff report dated March 27, 2018, and a site plan dated February 28, 2018. The Planning Commission recommends the governing body approve the application.
Second.
We have a motion made by Freeman with a second by Austin that after review of case number Z-18-03, a rezoning from CP2 Plan General Business District to R3 Garden Apartment District, parcel ID CP945-00000-0T0D, located at the northwest corner of University Drive and Moonlight Road, and a staff report dated March 27, 2018, and a site plan dated February 28, 2018, the Planning Commission recommends the governing body approve the application. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries with all in favor. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. All right, regular agenda item number 3, Gardner Main Street Corridor Plan. CPA-18-01. Hold a public hearing and consider a comprehensive plan amendments to approve and incorporate by reference the Gardner Main Street Corridor Plan. Presentation this evening, Kelly.
Yes, good evening, Commissioners. Kelly Drake Woodward, Chief Planner. Okay, so your city, your ideas, your plan, tons of paper here because it represents a lot of work that's gone on for the last year. You've had a couple of presentations, most of you, on this, and many of you have been involved. Even before you were on the Planning Commission, we're impressed with that. It was probably a little harder for our new commissioners to get up to speed, but I assure you they have done that. We've met with them, they proved they have read the plan. So I'm just going to give a few reminders for anybody in the audience, not too many here, but who might just want a recap of what we've done. Just briefly, this is the study area. So this plan pertains to this area, and so when questions come up in the future about redevelopment in this area, this plan will provide the most specific guidance for those decisions. The consultants who are here are represented by Caitlin Henriksen and Vicki Notice tonight over here. They're here for your questions as well. They, after their research, divided our study area into these 5 sub-areas, which are a framework for the recommendations of the plan, and they're based on that unique character of those areas. They also drilled down into some primary focus areas where they got into some very specific development concepts that were also based on some very specific market research. The building blocks of the plan, all the work that went into it for the existing conditions, things like the photographic documentation of the existing character, business inventory, the soft parcel analysis, transportation and infrastructure analysis, and the parking analysis. For the existing plans, they went through and read a lot of plans, and from those they distilled 6 discussion topics for the first perspective group meeting and stakeholder meetings to be evolving from. The economic and demographic trends were established as a basis for the opportunity site feasibility analysis, also the future land use prescriptions. Public engagement, there was a lot of it, and it formed the initial ideas that we tested on our online survey, and also drives the vision of the entire plan. That public engagement also sets the framework and foundation for implementation of the plan. And what has resulted from that is policy and project recommendations. So these are just some pictures from your plan of the many different projects we now have to pick from for this area. And I wanted to drill down just a little bit on the future land use map, explain a few things there. We're asking that you authorize one revision to this map this evening that we would incorporate into that map before it goes to council. And it is for this white area right here. This is a parcel that has been owned by Johnson County, and we didn't think anything could be built there because of the airport and the runway. There's been new developments lately that it looks like it may be released for development. We have no guidance in either our comp plan or this plan for those parcels, so we are asking for you to approve the plan and the comp plan amendment with this correction to make this parcel regional commercial like the adjacent parcels. Now, just understand this is future land use. It's not zoning, doesn't change the zoning. This is a guide for future development. Okay, this is our current future land use map for this area. You can see it's really patchworky. It's got a lot of colors on it. We wanted to simplify this a little bit, and we're able to do that because of the increased use of the mixed use future land use designations. So just to highlight some of the changes, this small area on West Santa Fe Street is currently identified for future land use of low density residential. It would get incorporated into that community mixed use designation, so you'd still be able to have residential, but you'd have the opportunity to have some mixed uses in the same building or other uses as well. So it just increases opportunity for those parcels. This one is currently a church, and obviously it's owned for a church, it's used for a church, nothing's changing. But if that were to develop sometime in the future, we're just saying that medium density residential would be a good future land use for that area. This one here is designated from low density residential to the medium density residential as kind of an opportunity to incorporate some of those new housing types in an area where it's adjacent to some already existing. This little area right here, our current future land use designations don't have a heavy industrial designation. Well, they do, but nothing is, no, actually they don't have it at all. So we've added that as part of this project, and these parcels right here are already M2 zoning and already heavy industrial uses. So it's really just matching the future land use to what is there right along the railroad tracks. This kind of arrow points to that whole area in the downtown core, which we've just expanded and included in that core mixed use land use description that can really address that specific character of that area and the mix of uses that it's traditionally had and that we wanted to have going forward. This one is currently designated for medium density residential, but it's adjacent to a commercial and it's right along the railroad tracks, and so it's been designated in the future land use map as commercial light industrial. This one, medium density residential, would just transition to the high density residential, just to provide there again a mix of opportunity for different housing. On this area south of East Santa Fe, is currently designated light commercial industrial, would be just incorporated into that community mixed use area that you can see on the on this map, on the former map. I won't go back to it now, my aerials will get all messed up, but as community commercial or community mixed use. This is the existing mobile home park, which we count as high density residential anyway, so that's just changing it to be what it actually is, because it's a large park. And for this little portion that's currently designated light industrial and office park land uses, we would just want to include that, extend that regional commercial back a little bit so that everything in that kind of activity center is consistent. So it would be broken up as it is right now by the Gardner Energy Facility, or transition. Okay, and these are the project sheets that we'll be studying and trying to work into our capital improvement program based on those kind of draft cost ranges. You can see we have projects for each of the 5 sub areas. And so we'll be probably coming back to you for some input on where to start. These are the ones around City Hall for the civic space. So you also got a pretty extensive ordinance with some amendments, proposed amendments to the comprehensive plan that were annotated in red. There's a lot of them are just basic housekeeping things like updating our logo on our cover, putting our revision dates on there, updating table of contents, making sure that the plan organization is updated. Other ones are for the purpose of referencing current regulations rather than our former regulations, or referencing recommendations that are in these other specific plans. And then the one that's for notations of LDC or MCP, which stands for Land Development Code or Main Street Corridor Plan, that is just so that we can kind of update the status of those things and note that they have been addressed by either that plan or those regulations. So we're not putting all the recommendations from those separate plans into the comprehensive plan, but we want to help a reader to be able to find them when they're looking for input from our plans. The future land use descriptions are the main update, I guess I would say, to the comprehensive plan at this time. And those are to make the future land uses more in alignment, of course, with the Gardner Land Development Code language and provisions, as well as with the Main Street Corridor Plan. For your low-density residential future land use description, if you look on page 8 of the proposed amendment, That would be described to also include duplexes and triplexes in a low-density format and characters similar to single-family. And that is because in the Land Development Code, our low-density residential future land use translates to 3 different zoning districts: the residential estates, the single-family, and the two-family. So some of these future land use descriptions encompass, different zoning districts, so they're more general. Also, the new category for the community mixed use. And just to clarify that, we mean to, you might have recognized it's kind of similar to the community commercial, except that the community mixed use incorporates some residential possibilities, and it also clarifies a pedestrian orientation. We mean to use that now just in the Main Street corridor plan area. But we want to come back to you later and look at the rest of the city and those properties that are currently designated community commercial, and contact those property owners and see, is the community mixed use designation more appropriate for them as well? Perhaps we eventually eliminate the community commercial future land use designation entirely. We can't do that without a public process. Also, just a simple renaming of the light industrial and office park future land use to commercial and light industrial, because that better reflects how the Gardner Land Development Code implements that land use. And adding that heavy commercial and industrial designation that I mentioned earlier that we're lacking. We may also want to go back and amend other areas outside the study area later to add more heavy industrial commercial opportunities as well, since we currently don't have that designation. So that's future homework. So those are just the main things. This is our staff recommendation that the Planning Commission hold a public hearing, adopt the Planning Commission Resolution PC 1801, amending the cover page, Chapter 1, Introduction, Chapter 2, Community Profile, Chapter 3, Public Participation, Chapter 4, Vision, Goals, and Objectives, Chapter 5, Land Use and Development, Chapter 9, Image and Identity, Chapter 10, Sustainability Framework, Chapter 11, Implementation, and Appendix A, Action Table of the City of Gardner Comprehensive Plan. And adopt the Gardner Main Street Corridor Plan and the Gardner Main Street Corridor Market Analysis, and forward a recommendation of approval to the governing body with the following revision to the future land use map. Apply the regional commercial future land use designation to the cluster of undesignated parcels located at the northwest corner of East 175th Street and Cedar Niles Road. And that's all I have for you right now.
Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate it. We'll now open the public hearing. All those wishing to speak on this matter, please come forward, approach the podium, state your name and address for the public record. I know we have our consultants here with us. I don't know if there's anything they'd like to add. It's been a long process, and glad to have you guys here for any questions. Like I said, anybody who would like to speak on this matter, please come forward, state your name and address for the public record, and be heard. Not seeing anybody who would like to come forward this evening. I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Seconded.
We have a motion to close the public hearing made by Austin with a second by Bowden. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries with all in favor. The public hearing is now closed. Questions, comments from the commission? We'll just start down on my right. Heath, you want to
Nothing for me tonight.
comment? Scott?
I don't have any questions, but as a new commissioner, I'd like to state that I appreciate all the time and effort, after reading a couple hundred pages, all the time and effort it takes to put a plan like this together. I really do appreciate that, and I think it's a very good plan for the future of Gardner.
Great. Brad?
I don't believe I have anything. Thank you.
I just wanted to say that as being someone who was kind of a part of this process, a small part, I don't have to say anything, but a small part of this process, that it takes a long time for a city to change sort of its downtown look. And, seeing it in some other cities, this is sort of a good first step for the future of Gardner. So,
Great, thank you.
and I also appreciate all the hard work that all of you have done. So.
Thank you.
Tim? Sorry. Great. I don't have anything else to add either, except it's been an honor to be a part of this project from day one. It's been a lot of fun, and I echo the rest of the commission. It's going to be cool to see this plan put in place. So thank you guys. Appreciate it. No other questions or comments? I'd entertain a motion on this item.
A motion to adopt Planning Commission Resolution Number PC-18-01 to amend the following portions of the City of Gardner Comprehensive Plan. The cover page, Chapter 1 Introduction, Chapter 2 Community Profile, Chapter 3 Public Participation, Chapter 4 Visions, Goals, and Objectives, Chapter 5 Land Use and Development, Chapter 9 Image and Identity, Chapter 10 Sustainability Framework, Chapter 11 Implementation, and Appendix A, Action Table, and adopt the Gardner Main Street Corridor Plan and Gardner Main Street Corridor Market Analysis, and recommend the governing body approve the amendments to the City of Gardner Comprehensive Plan and adopt the Gardner Main Street Corridor Plan and Gardner Main Street Corridor Market Analysis with the following revision to the future land use map. Number 1, apply the regional commercial future land use designation to the cluster of undesignated parcels located at the northwest corner of East 175th Street and Cedar Niles Road.
Second.
We have a motion made by Bowden with a second by Austin that the motion's made to adopt the Planning Commission Resolution Number PC-18-01 to amend the following portions of the City of Gardner Comprehensive Plan. The cover page, Chapter 1 Introduction, Chapter 2 Community Profile, Chapter 3 Public Participation, Chapter 4 Vision, Goals, and Objectives, Chapter 5 Land Use and Development, Chapter 9 Image and Identity, Chapter 10 Sustainability Framework, Chapter 11 Implementation, and Appendix A Action Table, and adopt the Gardner Main Street Corridor Plan and Gardner Main Street Corridor Market Analysis, and recommend the governing body approve the amendments to the City of Gardner Comprehensive Plan and adopt the Gardner Main Street Corridor Plan and Gardner Main Street Corridor Market Analysis with the following revision to the future land use map. Item number 1, apply the regional commercial future land use designation to the cluster of undesignated parcels located at the northwest corner of East 175th Street and Cedar Niles Road. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries with all in favor. Thank you very much. Before we close out tonight, is there anything from staff that they would like to bring up? Announcements, comments? Okay. If we don't have anything else from the commissioners this evening, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
We have a motion to adjourn made by Brady with a second by Bowden. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries with all in favor. The meeting is adjourned.